What if the real transformation isn't in what we choose, but in the energy we choose it from? Whether it's in parenting, health, or self talk, every decision begins in love or fear. Let's talk about how choosing love changes everything. Welcome to Star Potential, a podcast where we explore the meaning of our existence while having a few laughs and sometimes tears through stories from the road of life. I'm your host, Julie Jo Hughes. As a stage performer, my life is quite literally about song and dance. I believe that life here on Earth is a playground for discovery, not a contest to be won. We ask questions together like, how do I evolve my consciousness? And how do you sing a passionate ballad when there's an old guy in the front row with his balls showing? True story. Stick around for these fun conversations. Hey there, Starlight. Welcome to Star Potential. I am your host, Julie Jo. Often, the most spiritual lessons don't happen on a meditation cushion. They happen in the chaos of getting our kids to school. This is one of those mornings. I am recording this on a Monday morning, and I had the inspiration to record today because, like many weekends, my weekend was full of travel and running all around. And because of the live music performing work I do, I'm often gone for a good portion of the weekend, traveling to go and perform with my band. And that means my kids are often really missing me by Sunday night and Monday. And I really try to keep that time reserved for them and very intentionally make sure they know that even though I work on weekends, that they are still the center of my world and my utmost priority. But I knew that when I was flying in from the gig that I played in Texas on Saturday night, I flew directly to San Diego, which is a couple hours from where we actually live. And we got a sitter for the day. And my husband drove down to San Diego and met me there for this amazing retreat that we were able to be a part of. It was called the Transcendence Retreat, all about spirituality. And we got to see these amazing speakers and be in community with people who have similar interests in what we're doing in the world and the messages that we're spreading. And it was incredible, but it did mean I sacrificed more of the time that I would normally be giving to the kids. And as I got home last night, they still wanted to do our regular routine of spending time together, catching up about the weekend. They wanted to tell me all about their soccer games. And we love having this time spent together reading books before we fall asleep. We all snuggle up in one bed and we read a couple of chapters of a book, and then everyone goes to bed. But this all got shifted pretty late last night, and it was really hard for my 7-year-old daughter to fall asleep because she had all these things she wanted to talk about and tell me. And because I really value that time with her, I was trying not to cut that short. But the consequences of those actions meant that this morning it was incredibly hard for her to get up for school. She was reverting to much younger behaviors, and I didn't think we were going to make it to school at all. And a lot of times when this happens, I start getting like, oh, this is going to reflect poorly on me, in times when I have been very stressed and low on sleep myself. I have actually said words I am ashamed about, like, when you're late for school, it makes me look bad, not you, you know. But these are the things that come out when we're under stress. Sometimes we're not regulated ourselves. And so I'm very conscious of this. And this morning, as she was having a really rough time, I really just used all the patience and compassion I could muster. And really, she just wanted to be seen that she was tired. And so we took the time to have a nice long hug. And I acknowledged how she was feeling. I know it's really hard to start a Monday, especially because her brother in middle school gets to start an hour later. And she was feeling like it was unfair. And we somehow magically did make it to school on time. But as I was walking the dog afterwards, it became very important to me that her sleep is vital. We have to make some adjustments so that this isn't becoming a regular thing, getting to bed too late at night and making it really hard for her in the mornings. She's not a morning person anyway. But I recognized something in me. First of all, I was kind of patting myself on the back and I was proud that I was able to have that compassion and patience for her this morning. There are a lot of mornings where I'm not finding that capacity to have that kind of patience and compassion. It's like, school starts at this time and we have to go right now, whether you feel like it or not, you know? But then I hear that coming out of me and I don't like that side of myself. Yes, it's true that sometimes we just have to get someplace by a certain time. But often, if we just take a moment to see and acknowledge what's happening in the moment, we can then move forward. Where if I'm pushing at her with the same force that she's coming to me, I don't want to go to school, I'm tired, and I'm meeting that with, you have to go to school, you should have gone to bed earlier last night, and all these things, like, that's not helping. That's usually just delaying the situation, right? But sometimes we can't see that in the moment because we're overtaken by our dysregulation and our tiredness and things like that. But I was feeling proud of myself. Hey, you know what? You were really able to have patience and love with her this morning. And I was able to send her through the school gates feeling calm in her nervous system, ready to start the day instead of angry. Not only being mad about having to go to school, but also my mom yelled at me. I was glad that those things didn't happen this morning. So she was able to go and start her day, and everything was fine. And so it inspired the idea for today's episode. All of that to say that when we choose love and compassion over fear and worrying about what others might think, and which is all just coming from fear, right? When we're able to stay in that higher vibratory place of love and compassion, we ultimately can see with more clarity. And when we have that clarity and we're in that higher vibratory state, we are able to make decisions going forward from a place of clarity that is going to continue bringing us peace. So, from that place of awareness this morning, I said to myself, this evening, we're going to just move everything back a little bit. After dinner, we're going to move right into our bath time routine. We're going to go ahead and start our reading a little bit earlier than we normally would. Make sure nobody's feeling rushed for that time together because the sleep is so vitally important. I really want her to get that sleep. So, what we want to recognize, the lesson today is about, it's not really about the outcome. So, we made the decisions we made. It is what it is. I had a traveling gig. I really wanted to go to this out of town retreat. That was what it was. Sometimes the circumstances are a little bit out of the norm. Instead of beating myself up and saying, well, if you wouldn't have made those decisions for yourself, your daughter wouldn't have been tired this morning, and getting in a loop of guilt and shame. And you see how you led to all these things, or placing that blame on my daughter. She needs to understand she's got to go to school on time, by God. And getting in that loop of I'm either a victim of the choices I made weeks ago, or I'm a victim of my daughter not just getting up when she needs to get up. Do you see how that puts me in a spiral of, now I might take those actions of, that's it. But tonight we're going to bed much earlier. You're going to take your bath at this time. But it's coming from a place of fear and insecurity. I'm becoming the enforcer. I'm the parent and I'm going to lay down the law, right? And my daughter feels that. That's not coming from love and compassion. That's coming from, uh, I don't like the way this made me feel. And so now we're going to make these changes because I like to feel in control. And ultimately, I'm going to feel the pushback from her on that, right? And probably from myself too, because I don't like being in that role. That's not a natural place that I come from in my parenting. It doesn't feel natural for me to be the authoritarian. I I love when things are at ease, when we're in the flow. When I'm meeting my children with love, they tend to feel loved and seen and heard, and we just have less problems. It doesn't mean we never have stuff come up. Of course we do. We're human. But by coming from love rather than fear, I'm able to have more clarity, and I'm able to, with love and compassion for the situation, make the changes that we're going to be able to implement and sustain. That's the key part of this lesson, is that they become sustainable changes that we implement into this kind of new version that we're stepping into. I'm going to apply this to a different type of situation to help you kind of understand the point here. So, we can take this same mentality, the same lens, and apply it to making changes in your health for, let's say, your diet and exercise routine. If I'm coming from a place of guilt and shame and blame, and I think, well, the doctor told me I have to lose 30 pounds, so I guess I have to be on this stupid diet, and now I got to start doing this exercise, and I don't like doing this type of exercise. That might work for a while, forcing myself to do these changes, but ultimately it's not coming from love and compassion. So, how long do you think I'm actually going to stick with that? Probably just until it starts becoming a little bit more than mildly inconvenient, right? And I'm going to say, "Yeah, this just isn't working for me." I mean, I tried to make those changes, but that's just not who I am. I like to enjoy my life, and I'm not going to stick with those changes. But if I'm coming from love and compassion of this vessel that houses my soul body while I'm having this human experience, I begin to make decisions not from a place of victimhood or feeling like I'm forced to make them, but I decide, because I love this body and I really honor it for what it allows me to experience, right? That uh, I would like to nurture my body with things that it needs and wants. So even choosing what those foods are is coming from a different place. If I'm like, well, you know what? I like to give myself what I want because I deserve it. Then if I'm coming from that place of I'm a victim, I might just only eat chocolate cake tomorrow, because it tastes good, but then it doesn't feel good later, right? So that's kind of like a temporary reward or little hit of dopamine or whatever. Oh, I really enjoyed that chocolate cake. Doesn't mean that I never enjoy chocolate cake. I love chocolate. I love sweets. Sugar is that's my thing that, like, I'm always kind of working on, right? So it's an easy one for me to talk about. I have a lot of experience in this area. But ultimately, I have learned that when I kind of crowd out the stuff that I know is not serving my vessel, like a lot of sugar, excess of caffeine, things like that, when I'm putting in the essential building blocks first, I'm giving myself enough protein. I'm giving myself the different antioxidants and vegetables that my body needs to feel healthy and sustainable, then I still allow myself to have those pleasures that I enjoy, but it's not coming from a place of, I deserve this. It's coming from a place of, I just so enjoy the blissful experience of dark chocolate with a little salt or caramel, something, and I don't need it in excess because my body's already getting what it needs. And now I'm having this for a little sense of enjoyment and pleasure because I love my vessel. I honor my vessel. So, do you see how it's kind of the same statement of I'm giving my body what it wants, but it actually ends up being different things. And we actually end up being able to sustain that and stay with it much longer because those decisions were made from a vibratory setting of peace and love and nurturing rather than contraction, victimhood, guilt, shame. When we are making decisions from that place, they're not going to be sustainable or they're not ultimately serving our highest good. So ultimately, when we make decisions and things happen, it's not about the outcome. We don't want to focus on what happened because I made these choices. We can get lost there, right? Just like drowning in that energy. And that's when we spiral into guilt and shame. If you can look at, okay, I made these decisions, these were the consequences of those decisions. How can I look at this now? Zoom out a little bit with compassion and love for myself, for others, and see, now that I can see this with my loving awareness, what might I do differently going forward? So it's not necessarily about the outcome that happened from your choices. It's what you're going to do about it now. Now that that outcome has become our catalyst, we take this catalyst and say, how is this going to inform the choices I want to make going forward? It's not about the destination, it's about the path that we're taking to get there, right? If I want to have a healthier body, it's not just about the decisions I'm making because I can also decide to eat healthy food and exercise a lot to get to this destination of being healthier. But if it's ultimately coming up from a place of, I don't love myself because I'm so terrible, I make these awful food choices and I'm going to punish myself by exercising until I look amazing, that's not coming from love. That's not coming from compassion. So the path that I'm taking to get there, it's not that I won't necessarily get there eventually, but man, that's a miserable road to take. And how long am I actually going to stay at that destination where I wanted to be? Because ultimately, fear and contraction are not very sustainable. What happens is we begin to break down. Because when we don't have that love and compassion, things begin to crumble apart. It's a faulty foundation. I can still arrive at that destination of being healthy and whole, but taking the peaceful road of I love myself and I want to make nurturing choices. If I want to also have a candy bar today, I may do that. But I'm also deciding to give my body these nutrients that it needs. And sometimes it might take me a little bit longer to get to that destination when I'm coming from this place because it's unfamiliar. I'm not used to doing things this way with compassion and love and expansion. But over time, you feel how good that feels to be on that road. And you start staying in that place of higher perception. You start staying in that place of more peace and love. And once you're there, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You don't want to go back to that yucky road that feels awful. And so you'll choose again and again love. I hope this was helpful for you today. Ultimately, when we're deciding how to move forward, just pause, take a breath. And if you're sure of what you're going to do to make changes, just stop for a second. Ask yourself, is this decision coming from love or is it coming from fear? Is it coming from a place of peace and expansion? Or is it coming from a place of contraction and punishment? I hope you'll choose love. Until next time, Starlight, keep shining your brilliance, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning into Star Potential with Julie Jo Hughes. If this episode resonates with you, I invite you to take 2 seconds, scroll down, and click 5 stars on the rating. It's a fast and easy way to help the show gain exposure and momentum. If you're loving the show, I invite you to leave a quick review about what you love. Reviews are like gold to podcasters. And to show my gratitude, you'll be entered to win my monthly giveaway when you send me a screenshot of your review. I also made you a gift. It's a 9-minute, simple gratitude meditation with singing to help you practice mindfulness. Just visit me on Instagram at @TheJulieJo or find the link in the show notes. Thank you for your love and support. Until next time, keep shining your light. And that's a wrap.